My father had a stroke and couldn't mow the lawn. I took over when I could, but one day, we got a letter from the HOA, Unkempt property. I asked who filed it. It was our neighbor. When I went to talk to him, he said, if he can't keep up with the property, maybe he should sell. The next morning, we found our lawn completely destroyed, mowed unevenly, torn up. My dad sat there quietly, holding his old gardening gloves. I reviewed the camera footage and watched him do it while laughing with a beer in hand. He's 67, worked construction his whole life, did 2 tours in the army before that. He built our back deck himself and used to wake up at 5 a.m. on Saturdays just to edge the yard before the sun came up. That's who he was, proud, quiet, worked with his hands. He never missed a mortgage payment, never took shortcuts. 3 months ago, he had a stroke. It hit him while he was cutting wood in the garage. He dropped the circular saw. He told me later he didn't even feel it when it hit his boot. I moved back in with him 2 days later. I'm 29, I work from home editing textbooks. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. I figured I could help with his physical therapy appointments and take care of the house for a few months. That's when I started mowing the lawn. Our house is in a little neighborhood in Edmond, Oklahoma. You know the type. White fences, American flags, everyone waves at you from their porches but snitches behind your back. The HOA here is strict. You get letters if your trash bins are visible for more than a day. The first time I mowed the lawn, I already knew I wasn't doing it right. Not by my dad's standards. Not by the HOA's either. I didn't edge the sidewalks, didn't trim the back hedges. I just did the basics. But I was tired. I was trying to juggle work, his meds, his rehab, the laundry, dishes, all of it. 2 weeks go by, then a letter shows up taped to our front door. Unkempt property. Lawn appears unmaintained. Warning issued. Next violation will result in fine. I called the HOA and asked who reported us. They said it was Dale. Our neighbor 2 houses down. Dale is a retired pest. He wears Oakley sunglasses indoors, has a "Don't Tread on Me" flag hanging in his garage, and keeps binoculars next to his lawn chair on the porch. I'm not exaggerating. He watches everyone. I walked over to talk to him. Not yell, just talk. He was drinking a Michelob Ultra in the shade of his porch. When I asked him why he reported us, he didn't even blink. If your old man can't keep up with the property, maybe he should sell and move into assisted living, he said. I didn't speak right away. I just looked at him. He had a stroke, I finally said. We're doing what we can. Dale shrugged. Not my problem. I pay HOA dues. I'm not gonna let the whole block go to shit because one guy got old. That was it. That's what he said. I walked away. I was seeing red, but I didn't say anything. That night, my dad sat on the porch like he always does around sunset. He had his old gardening gloves in his lap. The leather was cracked, stained green from years of work. He didn't say anything about the letter. I don't think he even knew yet. But he was holding those gloves like something was broken that he couldn't fix. The next morning, we found the yard destroyed. I'm talking absolute chaos. Tire marks through the flower bed. Our mulch was scattered all over the driveway. The lawn had random patches cut too deep, and some areas weren't cut at all. The lines were jagged like a drunk person had done it. Our little solar lights had been snapped in half. The ceramic gnome my mom bought before she passed, the one Dad always made jokes about, was shattered. Someone had kicked it. I checked our security cameras. We've got a basic doorbell cam and a cheap security cam that faces the driveway. There he was. Dale. It was 2:13 a.m. He was riding one of those zero-turn mowers, shirtless, wearing cargo shorts, with a beer in one hand. He cut across our yard like he was plowing a field. He spun in circles, did little zigzags, then rolled right through the flower bed. He stopped once, looked right at the camera, and raised his beer like a salute. "You're welcome," he yelled, laughing. Then he drove off. My hands were shaking. I watched that clip 5 times. I didn't even realize I was crying until my shirt was wet. I walked outside. My dad was already out there, sitting in his chair, looking at what used to be his yard. Still holding those gloves. He didn't say a word. And that's when I knew, I wasn't going to let this slide. Dale thought he could humiliate us, laugh it off, and sip his beer in peace. He was wrong. I started planning that day. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at my computer, watching that video over and over. Every time I saw Dale raise his beer and smirk into our camera, I felt something twist in my chest. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was humiliated. He laughed at us. He laughed at my dad. That wasn't just a prank. That was a message: you don't belong here anymore. I couldn't punch Dale. I couldn't key his truck or slash his tires. He'd love that. He'd call the cops in 5 minutes and I'd be the one in handcuffs. He probably wanted that. But I knew things about Dale. Everyone on the street did. He bragged too much, drank too much, talked too loud. He was always working on something in his garage, projects he called them. But I knew better. He ran a side business fixing up dirt bikes and four-wheelers. Real shady stuff. Loud, unregistered, and not exactly HOA approved. I started small. First, I pulled the footage and made copies. 3 USB drives. One for me, one I dropped off anonymously at the HOA Dropbox, and one I mailed to Dale in an envelope labeled, "Smile for the camera, asshole." Then I started logging every noise violation. Every engine rev past 10 p.m. Every illegal vehicle parked on the sidewalk. I sent in anonymous complaints to the HOA every other day, complete with pictures. I knew it would take time, so I kept going. Every time Dale revved up one of those bikes, I called the non-emergency police line and filed a noise complaint. After the 3rd call, a squad car drove by late one night and left him a warning. But that was just part of it. I wanted Dale to feel what we felt, exposed, helpless, alone. So I started learning his schedule. He left every Tuesday and Thursday morning to go to a diner across town. Always at 8 a.m. sharp. Same truck. Same order, according to the lady at the counter I tipped for info. One Thursday, after he left, I walked over with a bottle of Roundup and poured it in perfect straight lines across his perfect green lawn, just like he did to ours. I didn't soak it. I wanted it to work slow. Stripes of dead grass started showing after about 5 days. He came storming out of his house yelling, thinking it was kids. But it wasn't. Then I found out Dale had a girlfriend. Her name was Rachel. She lived a few blocks over. I saw her come over maybe once a week. I didn't know much about her until I checked Facebook. Rachel had a husband. She wasn't divorced. Just separated, and not officially. I took a screenshot of her hugging Dale on his porch one afternoon and emailed it to the husband. No name, no message. Just the picture and the subject line, "You deserve better." A week later, Dale's truck had a cracked windshield. A day after that, Rachel stopped showing up. But it still wasn't enough. Because Dale still sat out on that porch, still watched us. Like he won. So I decided to ruin the one thing he loved even more than beer or women, his reputation. The HOA in our neighborhood holds elections every year. There are 5 board members. One of them was about to move out. I went door to door, talking to neighbors, shaking hands, offering to represent the good people who are tired of power-hungry homeowners policing everyone. I made flyers. I made a website. I included screenshots of the letter we got from the HOA. I made it look like I was just a caring neighbor tired of being bullied. People bought it. In 1 month, I got elected to the HOA board. Guess who's now in charge of reviewing complaints and enforcing property rules? Guess who pushed through a motion that anyone caught damaging another's property could be fined, and if repeat offenses occurred, evicted by community vote? Yeah. I went to Dale's house the next day. HOA badge in hand. New policy printout in the other. He opened the door, looked me up and down. "You really don't quit, do you?" he said. I smiled. "No," I said. "But you will." And I walked away. I thought getting on the HOA board would be the final nail in Dale's coffin. I thought I could quietly bury him in policy violations, fines, and shame. And for a while, it worked. The fines stacked up. The busted lawn from the Roundup stripes? Non-compliance warning. The unregistered ATVs in his driveway? Violation. The noise after quiet hours? $250 fine. He stopped smirking when he saw me. He even stopped drinking on the porch. For a little while, he just stayed inside. But then things started getting weird. It started small. First, I noticed a scratch down the side of my car. I parked it in the driveway, like always. Just a long, deliberate line along the driver's side. Nothing major, but it wasn't there the night before. A few days later, our mailbox got ripped clean off. At first I thought it was kids, but the pole was bent backward. Like someone ran over it, on purpose. Then one morning, I found a dead squirrel nailed to our front door. I stood there for a full minute just staring at it. Its mouth was open like it had been screaming. My dad saw it too. He didn't say anything. He just turned and walked back inside. I filed a police report, of course. But there were no witnesses, no proof. Our cameras malfunctioned that night, someone had cut the power to them. I replaced the system the next day with hardwired cameras, all feeding to a cloud server. No more SD cards to steal. And I kept every recording. But the real twist came a week later. I was at the local library, not for books, but to meet with a woman named Joyce. She was on the previous HOA board and had resigned a year ago. I found her name in an old newsletter and reached out, just to see if anyone else had issues with Dale. She brought a manila folder to our meeting. She didn't just have complaints. She had records. Turns out Dale used to be the HOA president. Years ago. Ran it like a damn kingdom. Got ousted when someone uncovered that he'd been using HOA funds to pay for landscaping work on his own property, $1,200 worth. They couldn't press charges, but they made him resign. Joyce told me the whole thing quietly got swept under the rug because Dale knew things about people. That's why no one wanted to take him on. But Joyce also gave me something else, the name of a woman who used to live next door to Dale, back in 2017. Her name was Michelle. I tracked her down on Facebook and sent a polite message. A week later, she agreed to meet. Michelle told me Dale destroyed her vegetable garden because her teenage son played music too loud. Flattened it with his riding mower. She showed me pictures, deep tire marks, tomatoes crushed into the soil. She said she tried to press charges, but Dale said she invited him to mow it and that she had mental health problems. The HOA sided with him. She moved within the month. That's when I realized, this wasn't just Dale being a jerk. This was a pattern. He's been doing this for years, bullying, harassing, destroying things when he didn't get his way. And getting away with it. And I was the first person who didn't back down. I went home that night and started making a dossier. Not just screenshots now, whole reports. Old cases. Testimonies. Dates. Pictures. Police reports. I sent the whole thing to the City Code Enforcement Office. To the new HOA president. To a local journalist who covers neighborhood disputes. Then I waited. 3 days later, Dale's truck was towed. 5 days later, he got served papers, a civil suit from Michelle for property damage. A week after that, a local blog published an article, when the HOA protects the bully, a neighborhood's dirty secret. Dale's face wasn't in it, but anyone in the neighborhood knew who it was about. He stopped coming outside after that. But I knew Dale. He wasn't going to disappear quietly. And I was right. Because one night, around 3 a.m., my dad and I woke up to the sound of fire. Something was burning. I ran outside in bare feet. The garage, my dad's garage, was in flames. The fire spread fast. I ran back inside and dragged my dad out the front door. He could barely walk with his cane. I called 911 while helping him to the curb. We sat in the dark, barefoot on the cold concrete, as flames shot out the garage windows. Neighbors came out with phones. A few tried to spray water, but it was useless. The fire department showed up in minutes, but by then, it was too late. The garage was gone. The heat had melted part of the siding on the house. My dad's tools. All of them, gone. 40 years of collecting. His old war medals, his photo albums, the cedar box my mom kept love letters in. Burned. The fire marshal asked questions, but I could tell by the look in his eyes, this was arson. They just needed proof. I didn't sleep again that night. I sat in the front yard with my dad's gloves in my hands, like he used to. He didn't say much. He just looked at the black shell of the garage. In the morning, I checked the camera footage. Dale. Of course. He was wearing a hoodie and gloves, but it was him. I knew that posture. That walk. I knew the way he looked over his shoulder like he always did, paranoid as hell. He poured gas in the bushes beside the garage. Lit a match. He paused just before walking away. And turned to the camera. He smiled. And blew a kiss. I sent that footage straight to the fire marshal. They moved faster than I expected. An arrest warrant was issued the next day. But he was gone. Dale packed up in the night. Left the house empty. Truck gone, garage cleaned out. Vanished. The cops said he was in the wind. Probably hiding out with one of his old buddies in another town. It was over. Just like that. No confrontation. No justice. Just flames and silence. That should have been the end. But then, 3 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name, typed. Inside, one photograph. It was me, standing on Dale's lawn at night, pouring the Roundup. There was no note. Just the picture. Then I got another letter the week after. This one had a flash drive. I hesitated before plugging it in, but curiosity won. There were 3 videos. One of me unscrewing the cap on the herbicide bottle. One of me talking to the girl at the diner about Dale's schedule. And one of me standing on the HOA stage during my campaign, calling Dale a coward with a beer gut. He had been watching me the whole time. I sat there for an hour, staring at the screen. My stomach felt sick. My heart was pounding. He was gone, but he left a reminder, I can destroy you too. And that's when I realized what I'd done. I became like him. I wanted revenge so badly, I crossed lines I told myself I never would. I spied. I lied. I got people involved who didn't deserve it. I let myself get so consumed with hate that I forgot who I was trying to protect in the first place, my dad. The garage was gone. My dad's hands were shaking worse now. He didn't say it, but I think the fire broke something in him that the stroke didn't. So I made one final decision. I packed up my stuff. I paid to have the garage rebuilt, out of my savings, with some help from GoFundMe and kind neighbors. I got my dad a therapist. I got him new tools. And then I left. Back to my apartment in Tulsa. Back to a life that wasn't built around revenge. Dale disappeared. Maybe he's dead. Maybe he's still watching. I don't care. Because the truth is, I won. but I lost a part of myself doing it. And every time I see a pair of old gardening gloves, I remember what it cost. And I wonder if I ever really got even, or if I just got burned.